Gosh, great turnout. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, obviously, your time is very valuable, so I want to cram as much in as I can to this session. Some of you may be using LinkedIn already, some may be new to it, some may have used it for years as an employed role, and now perhaps you've got your own business and things have changed. I noticed one of the questions was that the participant had a change in career direction, so wasn't sure whether those connections he already had, he or she, can't remember who put the question now actually, whether the connections they already had would be helpful going forward. So there are all sorts of things that we're going to try and cover off today. So first of all, welcome. My name is Nicola Moss. I set up my business Moss Social a couple of years ago, just in the middle of the pandemic, because I wanted to change. I wanted to do things my way. And over that time, I've worked with a number of small businesses on various strategies with social media, not just LinkedIn, but at the moment, I'm feeling like LinkedIn is such a priority place to be, and it can really, really help your business in a way that potentially other platforms are a bit more time consuming, and we are all time poor these days, aren't we? So any way that you can make life easier for yourself and still get those returns on your time investment that you're putting in is essential from my point of view. What I would like to say is this is a little bit of my background. My background is very much tourism hospitality. I did start out in accounts, lots of sales and business development roles. But the last thing that I did before I went self-employed was to work for the Federation of Small Businesses. And that was a real eye-opening experience for me because I got to work with small business owners. I got to understand more about what they needed and how potentially I could help them going forward in the future. And I could see that digital marketing was one of those things that a lot of small businesses really find overwhelming because they've got so much going on in their work lives already, balancing, you know, sales, marketing, invoicing, bookkeeping, actually presenting the client work that you do, and making sure that they had all of that. They were juggling so many balls that this was an area that I could help with. So I would be really, really interested to know which sector you're in. Do introduce yourselves in the chat. If you want to put your LinkedIn handle, URL, please do put it in there. You might want to connect with other people who are on the call today. And also tell me which sector you're in. Now, I know I have a number of hypnotherapists because the lovely Carmen Harrington shared this workshop with a number of you from the Inspired to Change brand. So very warm welcome to you indeed. You know, we've got a variety of sectors in here. I think I saw somebody from accounts, somebody from meetings and events, and various other ones. So I'm going if you would like to introduce yourselves in the chat, that would be amazing. It's always useful for me to know which areas find this kind of training most helpful as well. Another question I've got for you is which social media platforms are you using at the moment? Because I had on my previous course somebody who was using Facebook as their primary area. And what they had told me was they were spending 20 hours a week on Facebook. And I was really shocked because I thought, well, where do you find 20 hours a week from anyway? Because you've got to be delivering some client work at some point. She was, you know, in the service industry. But what that really means is that's tapping into all of your quotes free time. I mean, I know that when you work for yourself, it's very difficult to maybe make that split of free time and work time, but we don't want to be spending all of our time working, do we? We want to be able to have some free time. So you certainly do not need to be spending 20 hours a week on LinkedIn. Okay, so that was quite useful for me to know, because a lot of people worry about LinkedIn and think that it's not necessarily going to be the platform for them. But think about everybody who's on there. If you are either a B2B or a B2C service, the people on LinkedIn are people. Everybody behind one of those accounts, one of those profiles, is a person. And doesn't matter what avenue they work in themselves, they may well need your services on a private basis. And what we also tend to can get concerned about is, particularly if you are in something like the coaching space, often people don't necessarily engage directly on your posts, but they watch, they kind of lurk a little bit. And, you know, they might message you directly as and when they're ready to make a decision on what they would like to use your services for. But particularly when it's something slightly confidential or something that they wouldn't want other people to know that they're struggling with, then they might not actually sort of make a comment publicly on LinkedIn. So sometimes you can think, is this actually working? Is this working for me? And then all of a sudden you'll get a message on through the direct messages. Now, what I did want to say to you is I have got a 2-week, it's a Google sheet that I put up of 2 weeks worth of posts that I think you can pretty much use for everything. They're not a template, they are, here you are, here's a post, and it should work for your area if you're in consulting or coaching. So I will put those on in the chat at the end, the link in the chat. So have you considered outsourcing your social media? I know that when I go into groups, whether they're Facebook groups or any other groups, that there's often a question, what would you get rid of off your plate? What would be the first thing that you could lose off your plate if you could? Nearly everybody says social media because they find it so stressful, I think is probably a fair comment. What do we write? You know, how much time are we going to spend on it when I could be doing something better? If you consider that your social media presence is like the public face of what you do, every time you are posting with your face, you are putting yourself out there and somebody is being made aware of what you do. So that is all lead generation. If you don't think that bit is important to your business, then how else are you getting leads? You may have lots of other things that you do. Maybe you go networking. Maybe you have placed adverts in places. Maybe you are members of different organizations that get you in front of other people. You might attend exhibitions, expos, and meet people that way. But LinkedIn is such a good way to follow up on those connections and keep in touch without the formality of necessarily sending an email. So do think about the importance of making sure that you're out there, possibly more than your competition is. There are a huge number of people, and I should have the stats in front of me for this, shouldn't I? Who are actually on LinkedIn and never post at all. They might look at other things, they might look at other people's posts, but they never post at all. So give yourself that competitive advantage and you be the one who is posting. You're seen, and that puts you head and shoulders above your competition. But when we do think about outsourcing our social media, this is the kind of cost that you're looking at. It could be up to £6,000 a year. Now, I want to try and save you a lot of that money by giving you lots of tips today that you can use this week, this month, next month, all year, so that you get some really good value out of today. But that's the importance of upskilling ourselves. Even if you do come to outsource at a later date, you know what you want to achieve from it, because if you understand the platform a bit better yourself, you're not going to get taken in by somebody who says, oh, you should do this, you should do that, and that's going to cost you a fortune. And you think, oh, well, if that's what everybody else is doing, I must do it. And then, you know, you can be taken advantage of. You know, that happens in every sphere. But if you can skill yourself, then you upskill yourself, then you know what somebody is talking about when they're saying you should do this. And you could potentially say, I'm not sure whether that is what I want to do. I would like to do it like this. And then you've got a lot more control over what is being done in your name, because it is hugely important that this is your reputation. This is your public facing reputation. So another question for you: what's the biggest challenge you face when using LinkedIn? If you have got anything you would like to put in the chat at this point, I can come back to that at the end. I have also got some of the questions that you asked ahead of time. So I've got down here, feeling a little lost, feeling a bit overwhelmed by the whole platform, and where do we start? What are the most important things to make an impact straight away? I'm going to go through some of these during the course of this. Features and how to use them. There are tons of features. We won't hit them all today, but we will certainly hit a few of them. No categorization of feed. I wasn't entirely sure what that meant, but there is the search. You've always got a search bar, and every social media platform has a search bar, and you can either search using a hashtag. The hashtags aren't used quite as much on LinkedIn as any of the other platforms, but you can use that, and you can simply do a search and put the words in inverted commas, that Boolean search it's referred to. Making meaningful connections. Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily want to just connect with anybody and everybody. What I would remind you of, though, that when you make a connection with somebody, that kind of gives you access to their connections, because if they were to like or comment on one of your posts, then that could end up in their feed and their audience could end up seeing that. I'm saying could because there's a lot about the algorithm, but that access to secondary degree connections also impacts when you're doing a search. So when you want to actually search for particular job titles, job areas, companies that are of interest to you that you think you would like to work with. What else have we got down here? Accept making a request. That kind of comes from the same one. Building authority. This is very much about the kind of content you put out there, and the more content that you put out there, and you don't have to give away everything. Everybody worries that, oh, what if I tell everybody everything, then what are they going to ask me to do work-wise? What are they going to pay me for? But actually, not everybody who you're connected with is going to see every post you put out. The more posts you do put out there, then the more people the more LinkedIn gets used to seeing the fact that you're posting, and the more it will share. But no one is going to see every single post you put out. So when it comes to things like worrying about if you're repeating yourself as well, because I know I can get a bit caught up with that and think, oh, I've said that already. Yes, but I might have got some new followers since I last put something like that out. So I'm not necessarily putting exactly the same thing out again, but I can reword, reuse, and your audience doesn't remember everything you've put out there. They will remember the time that, oh, okay, that was interesting. That's something I need to think of for next time. Actually, studies show that people will often need to hear the same thing up to 3 times before they even consider taking any action on it. So hence saying, to everybody today, it could be a refresher course for you. It could be that some of this stuff already, and it's a good reminder for us to think, this is an action that I want to take so that can take me forward and help me grow the leads in my business, because that's what we're here to do. Message without paying. I don't pay for LinkedIn. I believe that if you haven't exhausted all of the tools on the free platform, then I wouldn't pay for any of the paid options. So I don't have lots of knowledge about the paid options because I don't use them myself. But I do know that if you even if you pay for one of the options, you still have to put the work in. So if you haven't put the work in first and you're not paying, you know, are you really benefiting yourself if you pay and you're still not putting the work in? It's very much about building meaningful connections, speaking to people, building that rapport, whether you start out with a few likes, a few comments before you even think about connecting. And of course, if you do connect with somebody, you can always use the what do they call it, invite, send a message with your invite, and then it's not got many characters in there, but it's enough to actually maybe say, oh, it was lovely to meet you at such and such event today, because that's actually a good reminder for you, because it stays in your message trail of where you met them. Because some of us haven't got great memories, and sometimes it's quite difficult when maybe you've been to an expo and you've met 50 people on a day. That's a lot of people to try and remember when you come back to a message in several months' time, for example. So if you can say where you met, that's always a good reminder. I find I use that. So hopefully that's a top tip. And then I've got somebody saying it's too corporate and scary. I would like to challenge that. I think years ago that may have been the case. Certainly during the pandemic, everything changed with so many people sort of blurring lines between work and home. We got used to seeing a lot more personal content on LinkedIn. That's not to say you have to. You know, only put out what you feel comfortable putting out and what you feel your audience could either be could learn something from, could be entertained by, or you're sharing somebody else's information that would be really helpful to them. So hopefully that's covered off a lot of the challenges. As I say, if you do have any other challenges, please do use the chat function and I will come back to them at the end. So communication connection, so important. I was talking just as we were coming on. I've been at the school today in my voluntary capacity as an enterprise advisor, and we were talking through with the students how to create a CV. They're only 15, 16, so they haven't got much in the way of work experience. So it's trying to think about the kind of projects they've been involved with. And it comes down again and again to communication. What are your skills like? Can you learn from somebody? Do you listen to somebody? Can you teach somebody? Can you lead somebody? All of this is communication, and connection is what makes us want to buy from somebody. If we feel that we've got a good connection with somebody, then that changes everything, because we will always find there will be people in this world who you really want to work with, and then you meet them and think, their values maybe aren't quite aligned with mine. Don't know if actually that's going to be a good working relationship after all. And it's not anybody's fault, it's just whether it's a good fit. And often those personal views about what is a good fit become more important than the actual logistics of what the working arrangement would be. You know, you've come on here today, Jack. Do apologise about that. I knew it would happen at some point, the inevitability of it. Okay. See if I can get back to where I was. Communication. Right, now I can't see the right board that has the option for me to move my screen forward. So do bear with me.
We should have some intermission music or something.
Just close the door. Sorry about that. Okay. Oh, it's gone again. It's gone again. Oh, now what's coming? Okay. So hopefully most of you saw, and I saw quite a few downloads of the how you set up your bio. And these are the questions we want to ask ourselves. So this is how we help other people on LinkedIn understand what we do and how we help them. So these are the 3 key points. And I don't know whether you see that headline. It follows you around LinkedIn. So underneath, wherever you put a like, somebody can see at a glance what it is you do. Now you'll find some people who will put their job title in, which is fine. That means something to the person who's in the job. It means something to a recruiter, and it means something to them in terms of going up the ladder in their career. But does it help a potential customer understand what you do and how you can help? So I like to really break this down into who are you trying to help, how are you going to help them, what is it you do, and what will help them achieve it. Now, you'll see a lot of people will try and put something really clever and it sounds all cool and crazy. And then you think, so what do they do? And then you might have to look around a bit to find out what it is they do. But how many people are willing to spend the time to look around and find out what you do? Everybody is in such a hurry. We're all trying to fit so much into our busy day, whether that is fitting in personal lifestyle or business, or whether it's jam-packed full of business. We're all trying to get a lot into our day. And if you make somebody work too hard to find out what you do, and if you're the right person to help them with what they're looking for, because most people are looking for something at any point in time. We're all looking for something to help. Maybe we've got a job that we need doing and we can't do. I mean, my thing's video editing. I've got loads of video editing that needs to be done. I would love to find somebody who could help me with that. So whatever it is that you're looking for at that time, most people are on LinkedIn, and this is the big difference between LinkedIn and Facebook. They are on LinkedIn to learn something, find out something new, or possibly find a connection, whether it's a customer or a supplier. So somebody is always looking for something, so help them find it. So this was the how to create an introduction with impact. Hopefully you saw that video. It was a PDF download. It had a click on to link through to a YouTube video to show you how to turn on and activate creator mode on your bio. Now, I have had people say to me, well, is it worth doing it? Turning on creator mode gives an indicator to LinkedIn that you are planning to post more. You are planning to take a greater part in the LinkedIn activity than you have in the past. So to me, I think it's a no-brainer. It also gives you access to a number of other tools that aren't available on the standard bio. So some of these tools are only accessible on the mobile app. So you do really want to be using that. And rather annoyingly, before I came on, this software I'm using, Ecamm, has changed its settings, whereas I could put a source and have my phone as like a screen share. And it's changed it to a source with video, so it wants to use my video camera on my phone rather than that. So I may come back to it and just plug in through Zoom, but hopefully this helps enough. So you've had the video. If you haven't already looked at that and activate it, please do. It's very, very straightforward. You'll see up here under my name, or next to my name, there's a little speaker icon. So that is the pronunciation feature. Originally set up for anyone who maybe had a slightly complicated name, who, you might think, well, I'm going to help my user understand how to say my name so they don't feel uncomfortable when it comes to having a conversation. But actually, you've got 10 seconds on there. You can actually put a small greeting on there as well. So use these tools to your advantage, because not everybody on LinkedIn is using them. And that's the key. It's trying to stand out a bit more than everybody else. What are people not using? What tools are there? These are free tools for you to use. So do use them. So that's that one there. And on the profile picture, if you go on my profile, and you can access to watch this on a desktop, you just can't record it on anything other than the mobile app. But you will see a moving picture of, and that is a 20-second video on there. And really you can tell people that little bit, that your headline effectively, but it gives them a chance to have, can we say 3-dimensional, or is it still 2-dimensional when it's a video? They can hear you and they can see you. 2-dimensional, okay. And but it just gives another touch point, because we know, particularly, you know, for those of us who've worked with email for a long time, you know, the number of touch points on emails has got longer and longer. So if we can shorten that time before somebody actually takes the plunge to become a customer, this is what we want to do. We want to be using any opportunities to do that. And putting yourself on video in front of your customer is a brilliant way to reduce those touch points. Because as we said before, not everyone's going to be the right fit. You might watch somebody's video and think, because we're all judgmental. We can't help it. We'd like to help it sometimes. I mean, sometimes I have to stop myself, but we all do it. You know, whenever we're watching somebody on telly and you think, oh, that's a funny outfit they've decided to choose. That probably says too much about me, probably. Maybe shouldn't have said that, but there you are. But we are, as a species, we are quite judgmental. So if it means that you connect with somebody who could be your ideal client, even if it means that you don't connect with somebody, at least you've kind of shortened that that line. You haven't gone too far down a route and thought, yeah, I kind of have done a little bit of stuff with this person, but actually I don't see this being a long-term relationship. Because we all have ideal clients, and we all have clients who have maybe not been quite so ideal along the way too. So you know, we understand that. We're in business, that's the way it goes. So you have your helping headline here. This was the bit about how you help, who you help, and what you help them achieve. So that's that section you want to put in there. The other bonus of turning on creator mode is you can access up to 5 hashtags, and it will say talks about, as you can see that in quite small writing. I hope you've got this on full screen rather than just one little box in the middle of a gallery. Otherwise you're going to be struggling to see some of this. I should have said that at the beginning, shouldn't I? Okay, and then of course you've got your usual links. So I am going to move on, but if anyone does have any questions on that, again, pop them in the chat and I'll have a little look at that at the end. Okay, so how much do we share? This kind of worry about, oh, do I have to give away all of my secrets, or do I have to give away all of my personal stuff that I'm not sure that I feel that comfortable about? I am one of those who doesn't feel that comfortable about sharing lots of personal stuff, and it hasn't hurt me. So there are some people who really like to share, and that's fine too. You know, you do what makes you feel comfortable. In terms of sharing like bodies of work, there may well be things that you would like to share, like perhaps you've done a presentation, maybe to a networking group. So that was something that you were happy to share free of charge. It may be on a presentation like a PowerPoint type slide, or it may actually be a video, and you can put that on your featured section, which we will, I might just touch on to see how we go for time. But really, really key to have your featured section activated. But if you're wanting, we talked earlier about building authority. You want to be that person who people can say, I know a person for you. If they're looking for whatever it is you do, I know who's the right fit for you. this is the right person. You can look back on their LinkedIn and you can see some of the posts they've put out, and you can understand where their knowledge sits and whether they are an authority in their space. So, you know, it is about giving examples of things you've done. Now, I do appreciate that you don't want to be necessarily sharing who you work with specifically, because you don't want your competitors necessarily going off and saying, oh, okay, they work with Boots over there, I'd like to work at Boots, let's see who they're connected with at Boots, and then I can find out a bit more. So I appreciate that you don't want to be sharing that kind of information, but there's nothing wrong with saying this is an example of a product that we've created or a service we created. I know there was somebody in events, and, you know, events are brilliant for photo opportunities, great for video opportunities. You don't necessarily want to be giving away who it is that you're doing that work for, because it's a very competitive industry. But for other companies to see that you've done these amazing events for other people, they want to see what you've created. It's a bit like a resume, isn't it? A CV of your work. So do think about what you share. Other complementary businesses posts. You will probably find that if you are a coach or consultant particularly, there are people that you work very well alongside. They have a similar audience to you, but you don't do the same thing. This is where you can build quite powerful connections in terms of, so for example, an accountant may work quite closely with a solicitor, or a solicitor may work quite closely with an estate agent. You know, there are complementary businesses that you can share their information with your audience, because you know your audience will find it helpful. And you're trying to be the helpful person here because you are helping people in whatever service it is that you do. So anything that you feel you can add value to your audience with, then do go ahead and share. One note I will say, you've probably noticed if you're using LinkedIn quite a bit, that there's the repost button, and there are two options on there. There's a repost and there is a share with your thoughts. Always share with your thoughts. The repost is like the lazy option, and it has been shown to affect the reach of subsequent posts that you put out, in terms of it will reduce the reach of subsequent posts you put out. So always share with your thoughts, and don't make all of your post shares, because that looks like you can't be bothered to actually make up any content of your own. But if you see something that you think this would be really valuable to my audience and I would like them to see it, then do share, but always put your point of view with it, because LinkedIn wants to know what you think about something, and that is how you build your authority, by sharing what it is you believe in, your values, so people can understand whether you're the right fit for them. Okay. And this is about building relationships, isn't it? All of it's about building relationships. We need to build relationships so that we can create leads for our business. Leads turn into sales if you keep building that relationship. We need to build relationships with collaborative businesses, because we know we can be stronger if we work together. And certainly if you're in a field where you do things along the lines of you know, recording webinars, for example, or even in-person events, the same, that maybe if you have a combined audience. So for example, there was a guy I was working with once, and he was in personal finance in terms of pensions and retirement information that he wanted to share with an audience who maybe didn't want to talk about it, or felt uncomfortable talking about it, or thought maybe they weren't wealthy enough to talk about it, because you don't know what kind of income bracket you need to be in before you can have those discussions. When it comes back to it, we don't know what we don't know. So anytime we can inform people and help them make those decisions, then you bring them closer to a sale. But this chap was then working alongside an equity release person, and they were very, very similar audiences. So try and think about who you can work with, who is going to offer something complementary to what you do. And then this piece is so important in all of your marketing. Excuse me. That's the thing, when you work from home, you don't talk that much. So when you come to do something like this, it's like, oh, voice isn't used to it. With all of your marketing, talk to one person. Whenever you are creating pieces of content, talk as though there is only one person at the other end receiving that. Whether you're writing a blog or whether you're doing a video, it's different today because we are in a group. We have got a lot of people all huddled around the computer, but when you are putting a post out on LinkedIn, somebody is reading that as though you are speaking to them. So it's really hard, but once you get into the habit of it, it comes quite naturally. But just try not to say things like, hi guys, you are speaking to that one person. I'm not a fan of, hey LinkedIn, because I kind of think, are you talking to LinkedIn, the platform, or are you talking to the individuals who are on the platform? But that's a personal thing, and I'm not going to judge on that. If that's what you do, that's absolutely fine for you. I would recommend that you think about all of your marketing being directed to one person. That is the decision maker, or that person is the decision maker. Okay. So how much time are you currently spending on preparing your social media? I think this was really thinking back to that conversation I had before about somebody who was spending up to 20 hours a week on social media, which I find terribly scary. Please do not spend that much time. You've got far too many valuable things to do to be spending that much time on social media. If there is something that you can outsource on it, it may be that you create a load of videos and give it to somebody and say, here you are, put that out. It may be that you've got a load of photographs and you know that you've got all this that you want to put out, and let somebody else actually do the posting. It is quite vital, though, from an individual point of view, that you are the one who's engaging, because it can be very difficult for somebody else to engage as you. I've done this and I find it quite hard because I don't know what the relationship is with a person who's messaging. It may be somebody the person has known for ages, that they've only just gone on LinkedIn together. You just don't know. So it's very difficult to have any conversations that once they get to that messaging point. But having somebody post out for you in your voice is not a bad thing. Okay, so consider the pillars to base your regular content. I think somebody did write, I have down here, I don't want to write about. So here are some ideas. So I hope that these will help. You probably know what you should be posting about. You just kind of get that blank, a bit of a brain fog, if you like, when it comes to actually writing it down. Or what am I going to write today? If you can potentially sit down, get a few ideas down on paper, you've got, say, these examples here: tips, inspiration, testimonials, brand awareness, and offers. So really, if we were to say that you spent 80% of your time talking about the amazing things that you do, not what you're selling, but the amazing things you do, what you know, how you've helped, top tips, all of that kind of thing. 80% doing that and 20% selling. And we mustn't forget to sell, because it's all very well giving out loads and loads of free content, but if you never make any offers to sell anything, how do people know how to buy from you? And that might be a bit of a scary point, because a lot of us feel quite uncomfortable about sales, but we still need to be putting those offers out there to help people understand how they can buy from you. So don't forget those offers. And it may be that it's a sign up rather than a sale. It may be sign up for something. So for example, you have signed up to come and join me for this webinar today. I have offered you something in return for you signing up to do this. Or it may be an actual sale. So it depends on where you are in your business journey and what you are doing. The positioning yourself as a thought leader, we have touched on this already. We want to be showing our expertise. We want to let our audience know that we are a trusted authority. And you can also do that through reviews. Reviews are hugely important to share because that gives proof that it's not just what you're talking about, but actually what you are offering to your audience. Reviews that will let people know either that they've maybe taken a course that you've done, they've worked with you on a certain project, they've had a big transformation in something they've done. Maybe they've worked with you, and I'm thinking about the hypnotherapist on the call here. Maybe they've managed to overcome something that's been holding them back for a long time, thanks to the work they've done with you. So don't forget to share and celebrate the amazing things you do. And I think we don't celebrate enough. So do sort of share with your audience, oh, I've had this amazing person I've been working with this week. Obviously, you don't want to be giving anything confidential away, but you can give an outline so that others could understand if they're in that same position and they're looking for help along the same lines, that you are the one to help them. And remembering this is social media, not broadcast media. There are a lot of people out there who think, oh, if I just post out and post out and post out and post out, everyone will see what I'm doing. And I don't need to do anything else. If you want to do that, take an advert out. Do an advert in a magazine, do an advert online, do a banner, whatever, wherever you're looking. You can do that if you want to. If you want to make proper connections on here that will lead to those good relationships leading to business, we have to be social on here. We have to have an exchange of value, that reciprocity that we talk about. So why would somebody share your stuff, apart from the fact it's great value, of course, if you never interact with their things or you never share anything they're doing? There is a responsibility that we have, a value exchange to help each other out. We particularly at the moment, this is a really tough time financially for a lot of people. And if we can help people during periods like this, they are then much more receptive to receiving your offers later on. So do think about that. And I've got a particular example with that. I have joined a networking group who during the pandemic, all of their events were in person. Really good, fun network to be in, but quite expensive, I thought. But then that's me in my, early stage business, having not so much money to spend. But actually, during the pandemic, they switched online. They did all of these Facebook Live networking events and supported us by sharing all the things that we were doing for no money at all. So presumably for that good 18 months, they probably had no income whatsoever, yet they still turned up week in, week out, and month in, month out. So when it came to the end of the lockdown and their memberships came up, it was a no-brainer for me to sign up for them because they had supported me all the way through. And that's how you want to feel. You want to feel that, and it wasn't that I felt I owed them. It's just, it was so lovely to have that support, and you don't forget those kind of feelings. So do remember all of that. Gosh, we're nearly at the hour, aren't we? Where did the time go? Okay, so just a little slice of what can be achieved for LinkedIn in your business. And I am going to go through the questions in just a moment. And I just wondered, do you feel frustrated about whether your messaging is connecting? If you still, I hope I've given you quite a lot of tips there. The connecting with one person is hugely important, but understanding their pain points, understanding what it is that you're offering, not just what you're actually offering, but the value you bring to them by offering that. So, for example, if it's an event, you're not just delivering an event, you are delivering the opportunity for them to connect with all the other people that they're bringing together in that event. And if it's a staff event, it might be like offering that team building opportunity and bringing the staff together and helping them work together that much better. That is a lot more value than just the event. So I've worked in events. I understand there is so much to events. So how would it feel to have a consistent stream of leads and sales coming into the business? I think that this is one of my hardest things, is to stay consistent, and talking to other people, I think that they feel very similar about it. And yes, anybody else feel that it's difficult to stay consistent? I know I have some amazing accountability buddies who keep me on track for so much stuff, and I couldn't do it without them. How many times have you done a training and you thought, oh, I'm really excited about this, I'll be able to implement this straight away, and then life gets busy, doesn't it? Your client work takes over, and you know, weeks can go by and you haven't actually implemented any of it. I want you to feel that you are really getting value and that you will use this so that it will bring more leads in. So I'm offering an accountability program. Now, there is no long-term commitment to it at all. I'm looking at a month to start. So it would be a fortnightly catch-up call. I want to also include tips and tricks along the way, and to help you connect with each other so that you can share what's working well for you, and we can all make progress together and stay consistent with those leads. You can access more information by scanning the old QR code. It's £14.99 for the month. Now, after a month, if you want to carry on, you're more than welcome to. There's never going to be a long-term contract. It would just be month by month. And if you want to dip in and dip out, you are more than welcome to. But I would love to help you stay consistent, keep this training up to date, keep the momentum going. We're right at the beginning of 2023. Let's see what we can do with it this year. I would love to be able to help you with that. There we are. There's the £14.99 a month, cancel anytime. That takes you through to a payment which just is 1 month. And we are looking at, what did I say? I think it was the 2nd and the 16th of February. We'll join up on Zoom for an hour on both of those days, and see where it takes us. I believe that staying consistent is so powerful, and it will help me keep on track as well as all of you. So let me have a little look at the questions, because I'm sure I saw a few in there. And if anybody's got any other questions, oh, and I need to share. Let me share. I couldn't get the QR code to work. Oh no! Oh, doesn't the QR code work? Anybody else got it to work? I'll put the link in here. So I've got here a link for the spreadsheet, which has got the 2 weeks worth. 2 weeks worth of posts for you to use. If you want to change them up a bit, you can use them that way, but that's absolutely fine. And there is the link to LinkedIn accountability. So that should work. So glad to see you sharing your LinkedIn profiles in here. This is what a lot of it's about, isn't it? You know, connecting with each other. Okay, so I'm one of those hypnotherapists. Hello, Dawn. Hi, Victoria. Beth, hello. Lovely to see you all the way from the States. Hit me up on LinkedIn. We love that. Victoria Inspired to Change. County Durham. Lovely up there. Hypnotherapist. Ames Accountants for Business. That's Drew. Thank you very much for joining us. Peter. Hi, George. Business consultant. Leadership and management. I've used LinkedIn for years. My previous career was in corporate. Yeah, I think a lot of people worry that because their connections are from an old career, that that they're not relevant today. But think about your career. Have you stayed on the same course? I know I haven't. I've had various different transitions. As I say, I started out in accounts and went into tourism, events, marketing, communications, small business support. So, you know, we all have a lot of strings to our bow. And I think that that is what makes us so special, because we can bring a lot to our offering. We're often not just offering what we say we're offering. There is so much more behind it. We've got a whole history of our experience behind us. And that's what makes people want to work with us, because they know that we're more rounded as people, and we've got lots to bring to the party. Where was I going with that? Connections. Yes, so a lot of other people have moved on as well. And who knows, they may well be looking for somebody in your sphere. We don't know what's going on in people's minds and what they're looking for right now. But if we can let others know consistently what we're offering, and if it resonates with them and they want to yeah, if it resonates with them and they want to feel that they can connect with us and ask us questions, because people might do that before they even consider whether they're going to work with us. And we can't expect somebody to turn into a customer the moment we speak to them. It's often a long lead time, and sometimes we need to offer them different things along the way. So I've learned from this as well, because when I first started doing my seminars, I was offering a big program that followed it. And then I realized that actually people needed to get to know me a bit more. You know, a 45-minute seminar is one thing. They can get to know a bit about me. But once they start seeing some results, that's when they start feeling, okay, well, now I might be willing to spend a bit more money with you. So if you've got different, like, lower ticket options, then you can invite them into your world. So you can offer them something for free, and then, you know, you'll see how the relationship grows over time. And it's when people see the value in that, that's when you're building those really good connections. And I do think that people who have worked with you in the past may well be interested in working with you in the future, because there was a reason they wanted to work with you in the first place. So it's not just related to, oh, that was the job I did, therefore it's not relevant, because everybody's moved on. Everybody is doing different things. Okay, so I'm another of those hypnotherapists. Southend-on-Sea. Oh, we're getting some of the country covered, aren't we? There are so many people on LinkedIn who are not really using it. And it's that, you know, how can you make this work for you? You can stand out a lot more by being there and presenting some information to people, letting people understand what you do, and sharing some of your knowledge so that they can see you as that thought leader. Here's my LinkedIn account, Corporate Venue Finder. Hi, Joe. Long time since I've seen you. Quite prolific on LinkedIn, looking for new tips. I hope some of what I've offered today is new to you and it's been helpful, and obviously share it within your organization too. Not getting feedback feels like you are ignored. Peter, what sector are you in? Might be good to know that, and then that might help. Nutritional therapist, help people with thyroid conditions. All very specific. Well done, you've niched down. That's good. Again, you know, it's a very personal thing, that, and I see quite a lot of gut health specialists on LinkedIn now, and they aren't getting much in the way of engagement, because a lot of people don't want to admit that publicly. But that doesn't mean that people aren't watching them. They're not seeing them. And I've even had somebody say to me, who I don't know, I met them at a networking event, oh, I like your videos on LinkedIn. And it's weird, because you kind of forget, once you've put it out there, you forget that it's out there and still there and working on your behalf. Because that's the other thing to bear in mind. You can also use some of this content in other places You don't have to just use it on LinkedIn. So if you are on other platforms, don't think that you can't use it elsewhere, but it's there for you. Now, don't forget to save the chat on here. Has everybody managed to get the link to the doc there, the spreadsheets? I hope I've got the right permissions on there. I'm pretty sure I've shared it before. What else have we got on here? LinkedIn. Yeah, everybody do please go and connect with everyone else on here, because, you know, everyone's from different necks of the wood, so it's always quite useful. Hypnotherapist. Okay, so in terms of not getting feedback, I do think that, again, you're in that sphere that it's quite a private thing. So for example, if there was a leader who had lots of connections on LinkedIn, would that person publicly want to let other people know that he's got an issue that he needs a hypnotherapist to help him with? And that is the key to all of this. Sometimes you're not going to get the engagement, but that doesn't mean that people aren't seeing what you're doing and what you're offering. So do bear in mind that it's, you know, it's not a quick turnaround. You're not going to get a quick turnaround. This is, you're in this for the long term, but I'm guessing that your business is in this for the long term as well. And as long as you stay consistent, you will be gaining people's trust. They're getting to know you, they're getting to understand a bit about you, and see how you can help. So don't feel that just because you're not getting big levels of engagement, that you're not having an impact, because there will be people who will be taking away things from what you say on a regular basis. Okay, if you have Google Analytics on your website, you could see how much traffic you get from LinkedIn. Absolutely. Beth Riga is excellent in Google Analytics. And if you've got any questions on that, she is your go-to. So do connect with her, and she can help you with that. So I hope that helps. I think that's all of the questions that were there. I will be sending out the recording if you find that helpful, because sometimes it's good to look back on that. And I know there are some people who couldn't make it today. So although I'm quite pleased with that, 12 out of 22 turning up, that's quite a good show up rate. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day. We have hit the hour, so I don't want to keep you any longer than necessary, because I know you're all busy, but make sure you've got that downloaded. In fact, save the chat so that you can connect with everybody on LinkedIn if you haven't already. There's the link for the accountability. I'm starting that on the 2nd of February, so you've got a bit of time to think about it if you didn't want to sign up today. Yeah, check out Beth for Google. She's my go-to. Okay, I think, unless anyone's got any other questions, if anyone wants to come off mute and say their question if they prefer, that's absolutely fine. I can hang around here for another 5 minutes. Otherwise, have a lovely evening or the rest of the day, depending on which part of the world you're in. And I look forward to speaking with you again very soon. Take care. Bye.